What is up, guys? This is Godzilla Suplex, and welcome to today's episode as I'll be giving my predictions for the co-main event and main event of UFC on ESPN 6. But before I do that, please hit that subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I make a video. And guys, we are in for a real treat for the 6th ESPN event of UFC. We are going to see in the co-main event Calvin Kattar, a non-stop knockout artist, versus Zabit, who is just an absolute tactician in the featherweight division. And then the main event, we have Chris Weidman versus the undefeated Dominic Reyes. And guys, this is going to be absolutely a killer ESPN event because of the implications it has on each division. You know, Zabit is in line for that title. If Alexander Volkanovski loses to Max Holloway, he would be the next in line for that title. So what happens when you pit him against another good striker, but one that's a little bit more elusive and a little bit more faster than the last matchup and a lot less reckless, Calvin Kattar? And we have this just great matchup that really tests Zabit for the final time and really sees that he's ready to fight Max Holloway. So let's get to the fire goals on this matchup. What does Calvin Kattar have to do to pull out this win, and really a huge upset win over Zabit? And I think he has to be very elusive to strike patterns, because Zabit, if you're going to be conventional, Zabit's going to beat you all day long just because he fights so smart. And if you can't really mix it up and give him a new perspective and a new problem to solve, then you're going to be outmatched the whole fight. That's what happened to Jeremy Stephens, and he has much as power as he did. But I think what Calvin Kattar has in his disposal is faster hands, and hands that can knock out and adjust consistently to the match at hand, like what he did with Ricardo Lamas, which is impressive in and of itself. So Calvin Kattar, just a basic format, what he needs to do: keep the hands steady, go for the legs, and keep doing stuff different that really Zabit won't expect, and Zabit will have a hard time adjusting to. So then what does Zabit need to do to counteract it? And I think it's the very opposite: keep stuff consistent where he can counter and predict it all the way. So what are these scenarios for these matchups? Because they have two polar opposite effects. One needs to stay traditional, one needs to really mix it up and turn to a brawl and make it more chaotic in order to make the odds very unpredictable. So when we evaluate this first scenario, it's under the guise of what happens if Calvin Kattar is able to figure out, Zabit's patterns and make the fight chaotic. Because that's basically what this fight is going to come down to. If he does, can Zabit really change it back into the normal atmosphere of a traditional MMA fight? And I think he has shown that he can. Jeremy Stephens tried to muddy up the battlefield, and he was able to get him back in control for a full 5-round fight. If I remember correctly, it might have been 3 rounds actually, but if it was, my mistake. So I think Zabit is perfectly able to adjust to any situation. He is athletic, he is smart, and he is quick on his feet like no other fighter I've seen. And that's why so many people think that he can beat Volkanovski or Max Holloway, because of his straight just intelligence in the ring. So really, if he does get out of control, how long can he keep it out of control until Zabit is able to calm back down the fight? And then that process repeats itself of them trying to, him try to muddy up the wire, change things, do some dirty boxing, mix it up. We're talking about a cycle that could happen for the whole fight, because we know Zabit does not have any power, which is one of his biggest weaknesses, but it's one of his biggest strengths because he can be so elusive while he's on the ground, grabbing you and changing the outcome of the fight into his favor because of his length. So it really just comes down to how consistent Calvin Kattar can really get inside and disrupt that and cause Zabit to move in ways that does not affect his outcome, like the setup of his strikes, which is the biggest thing. Can he get Zabit to lower his guard so he can hit him in the head? Because once he's got him rocked, the fight is going to be pretty much over, because I think once you break through his defenses, I think his durability from that point is not very high level. So in the end, what do I predict for this matchup? And I predict Zabit walks through Calvin Kattar. I know that's a little bit of a bold prediction, but yes, Calvin Kattar, he's going to be able to keep it consistent enough to make it competitive, but Zabit, I think, is going to overall take every round in that 3-round fight and really frustrate Calvin Kattar in his pursuit to try and get down his defensive guard. So now let's get to the main event, where we have Chris Weidman versus the undefeated Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes, to me, is a case where he should have one loss of his record. I think Volkan Oezdemir clearly beat him, and the fact that he got that, still made competitive to a split decision still speaks to how good this kid is and how he's rising up to be one of Jon Jones' most fiercest rivals. Because Jon Jones, believe it or not, people are saying he's blowing people out the water. He was just in a split decision with Thiago Santos. So these guys are catching up to him. These guys are getting real competitive. They're sharpening each other's edges. And the more Jon Jones, sort of looks over them, the more I think powerful they get to really show them that, hey, we got this and we can really challenge you until eventually somebody beats them. So this is part of that process. And with both of these guys going to war in a division that's pretty much wide open once Jon Jones beats the next guy, and really is open now because it's open to whoever wants to take it. This fight could be the difference between Chris Weidman having another title shot and Dominic Reyes rising up the ranks as an undefeated fighter, which will help his case to fight Jon Jones and getting that title shot. So both of these guys possibly have a title shot on the line and are looking to propel themselves to the top of a division that's pretty much already conquered and is trying to reestablish itself to legitimacy against probably the most dominant fighter in UFC history, Jon Jones. So now let's get to the fighter goals. What does Dominic Reyes need to do to win this fight against a new, fresh, lightweight Chris Weidman? And he has to stick to what he knows. Keep the fight on the feet. Hit Chris Weidman with a whole lot of shots, because as we know, Chris Weidman's not used to this weight. He has, more power, but that also nullifies his wrestling because the guys are bigger. So what Dominic Reyes needs to do, he needs to come out confident, because Chris Weidman now has to adjust himself to this new weight and this new problem that it's going to be hard to take these guys down with the power advantage of these heavier guys. So when he gets in trouble and gets wobbled, it's not going to be where, oh man, I gotta take him down, this and this and that. They're going to know that you're going to try and take him down, and they're going to be prepared for it, especially in a guy like Dominic Reyes, who's so well balanced and so versatile. We saw how he just dominated Ovince St. Prute's OSP, and he stopped every takedown that he tried to do until he gassed out and knocked him out. So this fight is gonna really be interesting for Dominic Reyes, because I think if he can get the fight on the feet and have a good pace to him throughout the 5 rounds, he's going to win this fight, just because he is a good points fighter, and not only that, he's a good knockout artist, and he's a very balanced takedown stopper. Like, it's hard to take him down, but then again, we can say on the other side, he has never faced nobody that has this good of wrestling as Chris Weidman. So it just a whole lot of factors are a little bit up in the air, but the basic goal for Dominic Reyes is stop the takedown, throw hard strikes, throw good strikes, and kind of nullify his striking to a decision victory, which is the safest bet, and if not, to a knockout victory, because he was up there with Volkan Oezdemir with his power. So he brings that to the table, and it's going to be very hard for anybody to counter. But now let's get to the more interesting guy in this matchup, Chris Weidman, coming up to a new weight, not having as much experience. Now you got more power, nullified wrestling. What is the goal for Chris Weidman to win this fight? And first off, is just to get his feet wet with the power of Dominic Reyes. What can he do, what he can't do, and really sculpt that out in the first round. Then start to get to work on how he should take this guy down. We know he's a little bit beefier, weller to take down, but he's going to have to set him up very well. And I think Chris Weidman, with all of his experience against some of the all-time greats, has to make the adjustment in the second or third round. Hey, this is what I need to do to win the fight. And I need to take this, because the guy is still pretty young. Dominic Reyes is still pretty young, and he's still pretty green. And at this level of fighting, if he knows what he can and can't do, and he can use that knowledge to, hey, I'm going to take him down like this, I'm going to fake out, take him down, use all the power I have, and if I can get him to stay on the ground, then that's a real problem for Dominic Reyes, because if he gets him down to that level, then Chris Weidman can just stay all over him, swarm him. Then the next round, he has to have in his mind that, hey, I can't let this dude swarm me. Plus, let's not, take it out of context. Chris Weidman's a very good striker. I mean, we're talking about a guy that knocked out Anderson Silva and broke his streak. So let's not sleep on Chris Weidman in that respect. But, the fight is just going to come down to, hey, can you take me down enough to get those extra points for victory? And if you can you submit me? And my official prediction for this matchup is that Dominic Reyes wins via decision over Chris Weidman. I think with the weight, I think with Dominic Reyes knowing who he is against, Chris Weidman, who's kind of trying to figure out where he fits in this division, what he can and can't do, what skill sets does he bring coming up. I think that's going to be the main thing for this fight, and Dominic Reyes is going to get it done in somewhat dominant fashion, but Chris Weidman can still put up a good fight. But guys, this has been the best Gojira in UFC news and predictions. Put your thoughts below. Do you think Chris Weidman can win this, or do you think Dominic Reyes is going to be 12-0 going into a fight that could potentially launch him towards that title fight with John Jones? Also put in the description who's going to win, Zabit Nurmagomedov or Kelvin Kattar. This has been the best Gojira in gaming and UFC news. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell so you get notification every time I make a video. And I will see you guys next time.